6 o'clock, ma'am.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Bella Vista City Council regular meeting for November 24, 2025. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Council members Hughes.
Here.
Newport.
Here.
Wilms.
Here.
Vista.
Here.
Hanschel.
Here.
And Hart.
Here.
Mayor Flynn is here.
Thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the citizens for their positive vote on the recent sales tax bond extension, passed with over 70%, and we really appreciate the citizens showing confidence in us. Next item on the agenda is citizen input. Per the rules, there's a 3-minute per person time limit to address the council on any topic of that person's choosing. I'll call the people in order. First one is Jay Mallet at 9 Rudston Lane. Feel free to correct my pronunciation.
No, you're fine. Thank you, sir. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Joanne Mallett, and I'm a 3-year resident of Bella Vista. Tonight, I am here to ask the consideration of the City Council in addressing the condition of the access road to the Bella Vista Animal Shelter. As you are aware, this road is city-owned and maintained, yet it has deteriorated significantly due to heavy truck traffic from Republic Waste Services, which accesses the adjacent transfer station. The result has been recurring potholes, washouts, and overgrown vegetation that make the road both uninviting and at times unsafe for visitors, volunteers, and staff. I am encouraging the City of Bella Vista to partner with Republic Waste in resurfacing the road with a weather-resistant, hard surface and trimming back the roadside vegetation. A well-maintained and safe roadway would provide a cleaner, more welcoming entrance for visitors and potential adopters. It would improve the safety of the shelter staff, volunteers, and delivery vehicles. Excuse me. It would reflect positively on the city's shared investment in animal welfare and public service. I have distributed 2 sets of copies of pictures. The top set highlight the road after being freshly graded in the best weather conditions, and the second set reveal the road after the first rain and the beginning of the deterioration. It is important to note that these pictures were taken within a 2-week period. I thank you for your time and your consideration in this matter.
Thank you. The next speaker is J.P. Bollinger of 14 Kiswick Drive.
Sorry about that, my handwriting's so terrible, I should have been a doctor. Ladies and gentlemen of the Bella Vista City Council, I appreciate you guys hearing me out this evening. And also I want to start with Councilman Harp and Hughes. I appreciate you guys mentioning in the work session about this critical issue that I'm talking about this evening. And also Councilwoman Newport, I appreciate positive comments about this the other evening as well. The reason I'm here tonight is talking about the Children and Family Advocacy Center of Benton County. Throughout this year, there's been a couple budget cuts to their 2026 budget, totaling $600,000. $300,000 from federal money and $300,000 from state money in July and October, respectively. Recently, this month, Benton County Court decided to make an appropriation for our 2026 budget to offset our county portion of that shortfall, totaling out to $102,000, which is 17%. What I'm proposing to the Bella Vista City Council is for you to also put in your share of your allocation of what the Children and Family Advocacy Center has for Bella Vista in regards to the residents, which is about 5% of their need, which comes out to about $30,000. I also have Natalie in the audience this evening. She'll be speaking after me later on in public comments, so she'll talk more about the organization. I just want to talk to you guys in regards to the actual numerical value of what the ask would be. And I would definitely appreciate you guys standing with Benton County. We're also working with City of Bentonville, and other cities in Benton County to try to have this offset. With this $600,000 deficit they have for their budget, they will be having a significant impact to a very vulnerable population of children and families in Benton County. And with that type of reduction to their budget, is going to bring them back to a level that is 20 years in the making in the progress they've made in our community. And again, this is a very vulnerable population. It's children that have suffered from abuse, neglect, and other type of things, and crimes against children. Again, a very vulnerable population, and I just ask that the city of Bella Vista stand with Benton County and the other cities for this very vulnerable population. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Armstrong of Northwest Cruz Avenue in Bentonville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm Mike Armstrong. I'm running for family court judge here in Benton County. What a lot of people might not know, or something a lot of people might not know, is that Arkansas has the highest divorce rate in the state, or in the country, I'm sorry. We rank #1 in the country in a list that we really don't want to be a part of. And when people ask me why I'm running for judge, that's a big reason for it. I've practiced law here in Benton County for about 20 years. Actually, early in my career, I worked at the CAC as a child sex abuse prosecutor here in Benton County. And I know all too well the importance of having an experienced judge on the bench, somebody who knows what they're doing. I've seen judges make, on good days, have judges make decisions that just turn an entire family around for the better and send them on the right trajectory. And I've also seen the wrong days where the wrong judge or the wrong decision can send people spiraling out of control, can really make things hard for families that are already struggling. And I believe that if elected, I can make those better days more frequent. I've worked with Benton County families and Northwest Arkansas families for the better part of 20 years who are going through some of the toughest times in their lives. And I think that this county and this community deserve a judge with the experience who can make things better. And that's the kind of judge that this county deserves. So thank you very much. I'll be around afterwards, sitting around. If anybody wants to visit or ask me any questions or talk about anything, I'm happy to do so. So thank you once again.
Thank you. The next speaker is Gordon Brown of 4 Kirkpatrick Place.
Hey, good evening. Thanks, Al. My subject tonight is short-term rentals. I heard that was on the agenda tonight. Residents, both new and existing, didn't intend to move into business districts, and that seems like what's happening to a lot of our residences here. My exposure with the short-term operator was shortly after I moved here. It was a person I already had a relationship with in another state, asked me to be their local operator. You know, when I examined the paperwork was falsified. When I addressed the falsifications, they said, no, we just go around that. You know, we don't abide by that. So there's obviously a known undertone of non-compliance that, you know, it's not being enforced here in the city. And of course, I decline to participate in such a relationship anyway. Home construction intended for short-term use may need to be limited on size or square footage based on some stories and experiences other residents are having with some of these larger homes that are being built solely for the purpose of a short-term rental. You know, especially just going in as a hotel. I know we have limits on how many that there can be in the city, but beyond that, regulatory or infraction enforcement seems to be lacking. Effects on residential life has led other cities to completely ban short-term rentals. Infractions by operators may need to be recorded and on points basis, kind of like a driver's license. Some of these operators may lose their permits altogether. Based on others' lifestyles being affected, I defensively bought a lot that came available right across the street from it to limit any possibility of anything being built over there, especially short-term rental. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Darren Callahan of 645 West Lancashire Boulevard.
Hello. I would like to discuss the rezoning next to my house. I bought that place 12 years ago in a residential area. We purchased our dream home there with privacy all the way around it in a residential zone, not a commercial zone. I'm not in favor of having a commercial business put in there. Furthermore, the last hearing, whenever it was discussed what was going to be put in there, I don't think that that was fair. That can tend to sway the opinion of votes. I mean, especially somebody that loves coffee, so to speak. I just have to ask you and every one of you, if you had bought your home with the privacy that you have and everything that you loved about it, and somebody wanted to do that to your home, how would you feel? We didn't buy a residential area to have it turn commercial and live next door to businesses. We bought our property on the residential side of the road. That's really about all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Natalie Tibbs of 2221 Little Flock.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. As Justice of the Peace Bollinger mentioned, I represent the Children and Family Advocacy Center, and we are facing challenges that we have not seen in our 30-plus years of existence, serving our county of children and families in crisis. And just being presented with an opportunity to meet with each of our municipalities to identify what are some different ways that we can better preserve and sustain these types of critical services. So our agency partners with each of the law enforcement agencies across our county, as well as the prosecuting attorney's office, to ensure that proper services that are professional and put the needs of children come first when it comes to child abuse allegations. And those services revolve around advocacy support, the forensic interview process, medical examinations, counseling services. In addition, we have long-term residential services as well. And so law enforcement utilizes our agency, more importantly, to ensure that a neutral, child-friendly facility is offered so that anytime child abuse is a concern, the child and the family, non-offending caregivers, have a place to go where there is someone who is specifically trained to talk to them, to meet them on their developmental level, and that anything that is being done from our agency can be upheld in the courtroom process. We are not investigative in nature, but each of our services serve the investigative process. We worked with, as Mike mentioned, he was a prosecutor who was housed at our facility and ensured that our services maintained evidence-based best practices so that these services could be presented in that courtroom. And so just at this point, we created a data sheet of where are all of the children and families coming from and from each of the cities, and dividing that into a percentage. And as Justice of the Peace Bollinger mentioned, 5% of that population is coming from the city of Bentonville. But overall, our agency is serving between children and their non-offending family members around 3,000 children and families every single year. We are grateful for the opportunity to express what it is that our agency does and to look at additional opportunities to sustain these services. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. The next speaker is Matt Sanders of 7 Nantwich Circle.
Hello, council members, Mr. Mayor. You might remember me from last month. I came in and talked about a short-term rental problem where we had 50 people that had a party at our house next door. And it went well into the night, and we didn't get very far. That was October 11th. 3 weeks later, on 8th November, we had another wild party that was thrown next door at the short-term rental. This time, instead of 50 adults, it was 50 underage children. What we're here today is asking Chief Graves and the council for some support on the STR. What we'd like is to enforce the codes that are already in existence. That's simple. 2 is to hold a zero tolerance policy for these short-term rentals. So whether it's them not maintaining their yard, having trash out, yada, 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 having these huge parties, we need to have the follow through with the zero tolerance policy to cite the party goers. And the reason being is because the city, y'all, the council members, can't do anything against the STR until there's 2 citations written. So that puts an onus on the police department citing those party goers. The second thing I want to talk about is just trying to get clarification. We bought a very nice home that has about $150,000 worth of structural damage. The engineer report came back and it substantiated all of our issues that we talked about in January. Furthermore, they brought up other things too. So, but where was I going with that? Oh, I'm trying to do research on like who inspected our house and what the codes are. And I just want to give you a 3-week synapse of the spiral that the city is making us go through. On October 30th, I reached out to find out who inspected our HVAC, and does the city have HVAC inspections? Is there a list? Representative Harp helped me in getting that information, and the request from Roger Greer, the chief building official, was to put in a FOIA. And so now we have more FOIAs that we have to put in because we have more issues that we have to get discovered. And now, as of today, we're being told that it's been determined that no records are responsive to your requests. And FOIAs are intended for the request for records and other documents kept in custody. So the process that they just told Representative Harp and I to do 3 weeks ago is now, we're getting another barrier to entry of information. That is all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tim McDonald of 104 Ruth Lane.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you all very much for giving us the chance to come and speak. I'm Tim McDonald. I'm running for circuit judge as well. And I'm going to start by kind of talking to you all about what the circuit judge races look like and then narrowing down into what my specific race looks like. So first, I'm not running against Mr. Armstrong. I know Mr. Armstrong very well. We've practiced together quite a bit in the past. I'm running for Circuit Judge Division 8. If you all are aware, Division 8 is a brand new division that's being created to help address the increase in criminal cases in Benton County. This has been in the works over a few years. The county's putting a significant amount of money into building a new courtroom out by the Juvenile Justice Center. As part of that process, they're adding a new circuit judge position as well as new prosecutors and public defenders. There's actually going to be a total of 3 contested circuit judges on the ballot in March. I think it's very important that you all, as the leaders in Bella Vista, are aware of what those positions are and, when possible, take a position on them. You're going to see a change in the judiciary of Benton County that has never happened before. Out of a total of 7 city judges right now, 3 of them will be retiring, and we're adding a whole new division, Division 8. So half of the judges are going to be turning over, and it's important that we have people that are experienced take those places. That is what brings me to my candidacy and why I think I'm the right person for Division 8. So I've spent my entire life in public service as a prosecutor. In St. Louis City, in Washington DC, some places that have some really terrible crimes, but most recently here in Benton County, where I was the crimes against children prosecutor for the past 3 years. I did that work and then I left there specifically so that I could run for this job as the criminal judge, because you couldn't go straight from the prosecutor's office into being a criminal judge because you would be conflicted out of everything. And so I've tried to set myself up in a position where I've got now some civil background as well, because that's the other thing Division 8 might handle. And so besides being a prosecutor for the past decade, I've also been in the Army for the past 12 years as a judge advocate. And as a judge advocate, I've done both criminal prosecution work, I've defended soldiers when necessary, and I've served as a judge in what we call Article 32 preliminary hearing. And finally, I'm just going to leave you all with this and why it's important, I think, for Bella Vista in particular to take a stake in these races and at least educate yourselves, hopefully all your constituents, as much as possible. As the Crimes Against Children prosecutor in Benton County, you handle every type of case involving children, and a lot of those cases came from Bella Vista. And I can just tell you as a sort of an additional support for what Natalie's talking about with the CFAC, I can think of 3 cases offhand that I worked with Ed Williams and Byron Stiebel that were some of the hardest cases that I dealt with, and every one of those cases involved a young child, now a young person, that went to the CFAC and was initially interviewed there and had support afterwards. So what happens in these criminal divisions and what happens in the CFAC affect all of you, whether or not you know it, and it's important, I think, that we have the right people that are helping out in those situations. So thank you all very much for your time tonight.
Thank you. It's now time for council member reply. Anyone would like to? Travis?
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming to address the council. Justice of the Peace, Justice Bollinger, and Mrs. Natalie Tibbs, I want you to know that I stand with you and you have my unwavering support. 100% I'm behind you on this, so I will do anything that I can. I only get one vote, but you certainly have my support for that. With the short-term rentals issue, I would say that the things that Mr. Sanders says he's experiencing doesn't accurately portray the majority of short-term rentals in Bella Vista. I think the majority of the short-term rentals in Bella Vista you don't hear about because they don't cause issues and they don't have problems. I don't see it as a business in a residential neighborhood. I see it as if you consider that a business, I think you have to consider renting your house out to a long-term person as a business. That's how I see it. I understand, the city split 50-50 on that or close to it. So anyways, if there's legislative changes that we can make to give the police or the enforcement more teeth, then I'm willing to do it. But I feel like the legislation is in place to prevent that from happening. So that's all I have.
Wendy?
Thank you, Joseph and Natalie, for coming tonight. Like Mr. Hart, total support on this. Our children are the most valuable resource of our community, and make sure they're taken care of, especially the ones who've been impacted. This matters the most. And hopefully, other cities can band together, and we can all make this 2026 work out, and then our government can kind of get their act together and get 2027 figured out themselves. Ms. Mallet, I think she might have left. Regarding the animal shelter paving, I totally see what you're saying, and there's some conversations maybe the street department can have with the mayor and see in the future the agenda we can do to get that taken care of. Regarding STRs, I don't believe we'll be making any big changes in legislation on our end. There's currently an active case with Arkansas Supreme Court that we're kind of waiting to see what they're doing before we do anything different on our end. But if you're not, this is for everybody, if you're not and you're having problems, this is a problem with the neighbor next door or an STR, if you're having issues, call it in right then, and keep calling it in. If it's an issue, if it keeps happening, keep calling it in, and we can see if we can make sure the enforcement's taken care of, so you're not having unpeaceful nights at your home that you should be able to enjoy. And that's all I have.
Shay, import.
Yep, I just want to thank Joseph, Natalie, Mike, and Tim for speaking on behalf of the CFAC. I also, thanks for coming out. Thanks for informing us about the upcoming judge races and those importance as well. And then lastly, I just want to say that I plan on introducing a resolution next month so that the council can unite and send a joint letter to all of our elected officials, both state and federal, encouraging them to reinstate funding as well. And you do have my support for Bella Vista helping restore our portion of the funding.
Anna Isabel?
On the short-term rental piece, I hear the complaints and I understand them and I feel for you. We do need to have more teeth in, so please continue to call those in, and I will call on our law enforcement and our code officers that are called to please get out and address those, cite the folks that are not following the rules because they give everyone else a bad name. And if it comes to us and we need to take action, we will. We want to support those that are acting respectfully in their short-term rentals and that are being respectful toward their neighbors, but those that are not, we need to address that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the reply. I'd like to thank everyone who spoke today on the various issues. And the next item on the agenda is the financial report. We just got the financial report out today for the period ending September 30. It was very encouraging. The total operating revenues were up 11.9% from the earlier year, and they were $1.3 million more than budget. So that was very positive. City sales tax was up 13.8%, so it continues to be a star. County sales tax was up 3.4%. On the expenditure side, we were running $1.1 million below budget, so that was encouraging. If we're over on revenues and under on expenses, between the two of them, we're about $2.4 million ahead. We do have 3 pay periods in October, and December usually can be a little tough on the expense side, but I'm very encouraged by our position at this time. So the next item is I'd like to entertain a motion to suspend the rules of order and procedure to allow all ordinances on the agenda to be read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
That was Larry Wilms and Shane Newport. A roll call vote.
Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
and Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Thank you for that. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which was 2 sets of minutes accepting $117,600 from Walton Foundation and approving a CEI engineering contract, which is around $52,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Seconded.
That was Wendy Hughes and Shay Newport. Roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
and Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Thank you for that. Next item is unfinished business, is an ordinance establishing a business license requirement for qualifying businesses operating within the city, providing for classes and exemptions, requiring annual renewal, establishing fees, providing penalties for violations, and for other purposes. And this is on third reading. Is there any discussion?
I guess my belief is still that it doesn't benefit the businesses. It only helps the city perhaps regulate them. But the regulation really is on a case-by-case basis. The examples that we've heard are situations where the business owner failed to consult the planning department or the building department before expanding or moving their location to another site in terms of determining its suitability for zoning and land use. So it was a failure on the part of the business owner. I do not see anything in the ordinance that will benefit the businesses in terms of avoiding that from happening again, quite frankly. Simply by knowing where the business is located and what they're doing there is not going to prevent them from doing the same foolish things again. It's like a property owner who says, well, I want to put a shed out in my backyard and doesn't consult the ACC or the city of Vista about the zoning and building permit requirements. So it's one of those
uninformed owners. And it can happen to a property owner in a residence, it can happen to a business owner. The licensing to me is not going to solve that problem, nor benefit the businesses in doing so, other than making them pay a fee to become listed in the city registry. And the city registry is really not a document that's available for the public to review. If you go online and want to find out about city businesses, you go to the business associations and not on the city. So I see it as being of zero benefit. And I will be voting no.
Travis Hart.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to sponsor some legislation that uses the current certificate of occupancy to enforce the business owner to notify the city when they're moving. I think we already have something in place that can accomplish what the fire department told me they needed. I don't believe that we need a business license at this point. I think that if we get to the point of where, we're actually competitive with the amount of businesses that we have in the city, we could revisit this and it would have my support. But for now, I don't support this.
Anybody else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
That was Larry Welms and Craig Hanschel. Roll call vote.
Councilmembers Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
No.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
Harp,
No.
Motion carried 4-2. Next one
Mayor,
is,
the record can reflect, just to make sure we're in the minutes compliant with state law, 2/3 of the council having concurred, the ordinance hasn't been adopted.
oh, okay, yeah, 4-2 is 2/3. Thank you. Next one is an ordinance amending the Bella Vista zoning ordinance and map to rezone property described in rezoning petition number 2025-59940, current county parcel number 16-43269-000, from RE residential state district to C2 local commercial. And this is on second reading. Is there any discussion? Travis?
I'll motion to amend this to read as C2. I'm sorry, it's C1. From C2 to C1.
Mayor, all motions to amend have to be in writing, but however, I have written that down previously, and so it's very simple just to amend all references currently in the proposal that are, say, C2, would be amended to C1.
Okay.
So the motion would be in order if there's a second.
Yeah. Is there a second?
No.
Seconded.
Second by Shane Newport. Discussion? Did you want to say something, Larry?
I do. I guess while the city council is in authority to make revisions or adjustments to recommendations on zoning from the planning and zoning department and commission, because of the sensitivity of the location, the sensitivity of changing the zoning between two existing residential parcels, single family at that, to a commercial, I would feel much better if we were to send this back to the planning and zoning department and have them review an amendment from C2 to C1 as a proposal for this site. I think that would be, we're not the planners, and while we have the authority to do this, I feel uncomfortable in it and feel that we should route it back to the planning department and have them render a review of the C1 alternative and bring it forward to us to consider in a more formal fashion. So I'll be voting no on this.
Wendy?
Thank you, John. I'm supportive of Larry's recommendation. I think that having a better review from the planning department, having the opportunity to review it as a C1, and having planning commissions vote on it would be more appropriate.
Greg Hansel.
I'm basically just going to repeat what we talked about in the work session. I've talked to Mr. Callahan at length. You know, to me, it's just semantics. Tangent to, adjacent to. I think that Lakeshire offers a distinguishable boundary between commercial and residential. You know, and I hate saying no, but sometimes you just have to say no. You know, this is the type of situation that got me involved with politics. I built the biggest house I ever had, and a developer came in behind me, a street behind me, and wanted to build a giant monstrosity of apartments. And that didn't sit well with me. So this really hits close to home for me. You know, this will be the domino that falls, that creates the trend throughout. You know, when they purchased their home 12 years ago, you know, it was set in stone, residential estate. I'm sure they never even considered having some kind of commercial anything to them. And the problem I have with commercial is that we don't know what it is, and we can't talk about that. And I understand that. And so we really can't get into the semantics of all that stuff or the details of that. But to me, all the years that I've spent in planning, this is spot zoning, is what it comes down to. There's legal avenues for the zoning that's already in place that the applicant could pursue. I'm not going to espouse the benefits of STRs, but that is a legal pursuit that everybody in the state can take. I just don't see it fitting well within the neighborhood, and I have to live with the choice of who gets penalized is kind of how I frame it in my mind. I would hate to take away 12 years worth of work and care of their property, and because I would say with almost certainty that if they put their house up for sale with any kind of commercial development next door to them, the first question that's going to get asked in that driveway, do you want to live next door to that? So that's my struggle. I applaud the initiative or the desire to create a retail space, and before I get pigeonholed for being anti-business, that's not the case at all. But like I said, I don't think this is technically in a commercial area. It's still in a residential area. And I think that there's other avenues that can be pursued. So I'll be voting no.
Travis?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate something we talked about in the work session as well. We heard from the planning director, and she assured us that the C1 was more in line with what the city's 2040 plan had in store. So I just wanted to reiterate that.
Well, I think we have a motion and a second on
the amendment.
Yeah, on the
to
motion to
refer C2 to, instead of rezoning to C2 to C1.
Yeah.
That's the current motion.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote on that motion to amend.
Council members Hughes,
So just for clarification, one more time, sorry. This is purely on the motion to amend, not to approve. Okay, perfect. Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
No.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Motion to amend carried 4-2. So the ordinance is amended.
With the proposed, Mayor's proposed ordinance at this point, you're continuing to be on the second reading with the proposed ordinance as you have just amended it. So you can continue the debate on that or further motions.
Wendy?
Mr. Wilks, did you want a motion to move this back to the planning commission? Do you want a motion to move this back to the planning commission?
Refer it back to planning commission to evaluate C1 as an alternative I think we were in agreement that that might be an acceptable possibility, but it would be up to planning to review it.
Would you like to make a motion to do that?
I need to have something here as a proposal.
You need to, what you can do, if you can move to refer this item to the planning commission for further study regarding the potential C1 zoning. And then that would clear it off of your docket for now, and then it would be in the planning commission's hands to bring something back to you in the future at an unknown time.
I would move to refer this back to planning for further review.
Planning commission, it's clear, it's important to refer to the planning commission.
With a consideration for the C1 zoning.
C1.
And then bring back a recommendation to the council subsequently.
Second.
Your state law allows you to do that, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, that's a motion by Larry Wilms, second by Wendy Hughes. Any more discussion? Travis?
Yeah, can somebody explain to me the process of that? Does he have to reapply to get in front of the planning commission? Does he have to pay another fee?
No. This whole thing just goes back, gets put on the planning commission agenda, and they are going to have further deliberation. There won't necessarily be another public hearing. There won't be applications. There won't be costs associated to the developer or to the applicant, I should say, in any way. Right. There is an uncertain timetable. That's the only thing that there is unknown, is the timetable.
That was a good question. Shay?
I just want to say I don't support turning it back over to the planning commission. I think we have enough information. I think we've heard from the neighboring property owners and the property owner himself on multiple occasions. And I think if you read the information available to us on what the impacts of a C1 rezone would be, there's plenty of information about what would be allowed there. So I don't support prolonging this process.
I guess I'd like to review a little bit the possibilities in the C2 zoning and even in the C1. It allows for a mixed-use building there in either way, C1, C2. It allows for multifamily dwelling in there. It allows for townhouses to be put in there. It allows for retail stores, which is what the applicant has submitted as his idea of use there, but that's not a commitment. A restaurant proposal, tavern and bar, a short-term rental, a financial institution, studio for music and other things, a clinic, an animal boarding facility. Would you like to have an animal boarding facility come in there with dogs barking all the time? As an example, that's permitted in C1 and C2. Vet services and a recreational facility, and which could include outdoor activities at night, and also outdoor dining. So all of those are permitted in both C1 and C2. For that reason, I am asking that it be referred back to the planning commission for reassessment.
Craig, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. Shay, Newport.
I just have a question for Mr. Kelly. If the planning commission had wanted it to be C1, is that something they could have actioned while they had it?
They could have denied, they couldn't really make that change. They make a recommendation to you. They could have recommended not to go C2, and they would think C1 would be better, but it wouldn't necessarily change the application. Assuming they had not approved that, then the developer comes into, the owner applicant comes in to appeal that decision with their application request, and then you all consider that. So, no, but the commission could make recommendations to you as part of their charge at any stage.
Travis.
And so I talked to one of the planning commissioners, and he had conveyed to me that if the applicant had applied for C1, he would have supported it personally, not speaking for the entire commission, but in that, to Larry's point, I mean, I understand there's some things that could be put next door that would be uncomfortable, like a dog parking. It would be much similar to having a neighbor with a dog that's parking, so, but I agree with Shay. I don't think there's a need to send this back. I'm ready to make a vote on it.
I think everyone's spoken, so we have a motion and a second to refer it back to Planning Commission, so we'll have a roll call vote on that. Whether a yes vote means you want it to be referred back to Planning Commission.
Okay. Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
No.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
No.
Hanschel,
No.
Hart,
No.
Was that a no?
That's a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry, didn't know. Yeah, so that motion failed.
So Mayor, you're still on second reading for further debate or further motions.
Shay?
Motion to approve the amended ordinance.
Second.
Well, don't we have to go to third and final first?
You would have to suspend the rules and go to the third and final reading.
Sorry, motion to suspend the rules and move to a third and final reading.
Second.
That was Shay Newport and Travis Hart. Any discussion on that? Okay.
I do have one comment.
Go ahead, Greg.
Before we do vote, you know, I would like to see this go to third and final because I would like to see every single one of you guys go out there to the property and see exactly how close and see, I mean, what that impact could be. I mean, I would absolutely encourage you guys to go out there, have a conversation, see proximity-wise how disruptive, I mean, I don't even know how disruptive it would be trying to fill a 40-foot hole with traffic moving through Laneshire. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff to this. I'll gladly go to third and final, but I would encourage everybody to visit with the neighbors. That's all I have to say about that.
Wendy Hughes?
If you haven't done a site visit, I highly recommend it. It's eye-opening, and I've only been able to talk to one of the neighbors. The Callahan's weren't available when I was there. I talked to the other neighbor at Lincoln, so I definitely would prefer one to do a site visit first and actually lay eyes and walk it. Well, you can't really walk it.
Travis?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with voting no on the suspension of the rules and adhering to that advice, so.
I withdraw my motion.
Motion can be withdrawn if the second is also withdrawn.
Withdraw.
Okay.
So Mayor, you're now on second reading for further debate, or it can move to third reading next month.
Okay, thank you. So I take it we're okay with going next month, going third and final. Okay. So we'll go to third and final. It has been amended to C1. Okay, new business and ordinance amending section 16-41 permit required of the Code of Ordinances of City of Bella Vista to provide for more streamlined renewals of short-term rental permits. And staff request move to third and final. There's some discussion of this last time. Wendy?
Oh, I was just going to motion to suspend the rules and go to third and final. This makes total sense.
Second.
That was Wendy Hughes and Larry Wilms. Any discussion?
I guess I don't know why we have to process an ordinance to do this. It would seem common sense that it would be implemented as an administrative function, but apparently it was not. And so we have to address any problem with an ordinance amendment, and I fully support it.
Okay. We have a motion, second to go to third and final. Roll call vote.
Suspend the rules and move to third.
Suspend the rules, go to third and final.
Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell.
Yes.
Hanschel.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. I'll read it for a third and final time. Amending section 16-41, permit required of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bella Vista to provide for more streamlined renewals of short-term rental permits.
Recommend approval.
Second.
That was Larry Wilms and Craig Hanschel. Any more discussion? Travis?
I just wanted to thank the staff for working with me on this and supporting this. So I don't know if Taylor's in here, but thank you if you are.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Councilmembers Hughes.
Yes. Yes.
Newport.
Yes.
Wilms.
Yes.
Isbell.
Yes.
Hanschel.
Yes.
And Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Next one is a resolution is approving and adopting a fee schedule for City of Bella Vista planning and development related permits and applications. And we had some discussion of this at the work session, and this chart kind of laying out what the cities around us have done and what ours used to be and what is proposed that it would be in the future. Is there any discussion? Travis?
Yes, so anytime that we were asked to adopt an ordinance, we were repeatedly told that the city council sets the fee, because I remember asking on multiple occasions, well, what is the fee in mind? And we were always told the city council sets the fee. You guys will decide the fee at a later time. We didn't decide any of these fees, so I feel like I was misled, and so I'm just going to vote no on this.
Well, you decided them now. I guess.
Well, I decide no then.
Yeah, Shay?
I was just going to remind the council that last Monday, Taylor had suggested that this is a 33% fee recovery. That's the average across the board. I support not only a 33% recovery, but eventually moving to a scale of 100% recovery. Our government doesn't run on thoughts and prayers and hopes and wishes. It does require dollars to make all of this work, and I support funding these activities that are optional appropriately.
Larry?
I would tend to support Councilman Freeman's sentiment, with the exception that if it's a non-tax generating business, then it would be 100%. If it's a tax generating business, it would be pro rata shared, because they're generating income to the city, paying the salaries already. So they should have a break, in my humble opinion, over what the full cost is. So I would differ in that respect.
Craig Hanschel?
So how do we differentiate that between STRs?
Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. How do we differentiate that between STRs that are being built strictly for business, could be houses, but maybe business?
That part of it we would not know in a single family
So
residence.
we're putting gray area, yeah,
That's a gray
we're building it in. Okay.
That's really an unknown.
But, I mean, I'm in support of what's being proposed. Like I said, work session, there's cost to do business. And before everybody paints it out to be that I'm trying to hang money on everybody, we're following, I think, part and parcel to what other communities are doing, trying to recover. That's common business practice, efficiency, Six Sigma, et cetera. So when you can identify those inefficiencies and cost and try to rein those in and make it make sense, and this would be something that I think people could refer to and see exactly where that money's going. This makes sense where the dollars are being spent and why. So with that being said, I'd be in support of this.
Okay, I think we have a motion and second, so we're ready for a roll call vote.
Motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Shay Newport and Wendy Hughes. Sorry about that.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Roll call vote. Councilmembers Hughes.
Yes.
Newport.
Yes.
Wilms,
No.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
and Hart.
No.
Motion carried 4-2. Next one is the resolution awarding bid and authorizing a contract with Peel Stabilization International in an amount of $225,335.82 plus an additional 20% project contingency for a total amount not to exceed $270,402.98 for Oldham Road slope stabilization and repairs and amending the 2025 city budget. We had some discussion at the work session. Dan Downing's here if you want him to go over it some more, or Wendy.
So the mayor and I had the privilege of being on the streets committee and get to hear Karen and Dan talk about this for several months, probably a year and a half now, about identifying the issue and trying to come up with solutions that will be cost effective and workable for our residents, opposed to just closing the road down. And so I want to applaud them for their work on this and for their dedication and making sure that we are taking care of our citizens. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to see it go forward.
Shay, Newport.
I also want to thank the street department for their work on this. I commute down that road daily, and there's a big dip that shakes my car every morning, so really looking forward to getting this resolved.
Larry Wilms.
I have a question about the project itself. We actually were fortunate when you look at the list of bidders, and 3 out of the 4 bid, and the successful bidder was left a lot on the table, which I really am a little surprised about, but that's not unusual with construction projects. They either have more experience or more knowledge about doing the project as it's required. I do have some questions for staff, so if Dan is here, is Dan here?
Yeah, he is.
I probably should have asked these questions, Dan, at our work session, but I didn't get a chance to fully review the whole package. So what I understand is that they're doing 3 rows of the soil nail wall construction. So will those be, is that at 3 trenches then, where they?
No, they're all individually drilled in and concrete anchored posts every 5 feet in spacing. It's anchoring down in fabric mesh that holds that back. It's not a wall.
So how is the mesh installed? Do they dig a trench to put the mesh into that these anchors hold? How is that? What's that process?
It's at the surface level. The mesh is.
The what?
The mesh is at the surface level currently.
So it says it goes in at a 15-degree angle.
Yeah, they'll be working from the roadway.
It'll be like
They'll drive
this.
they'll pre-drill, drive the nails in, mortar them in, and then the fabric gets fastened to those at the current ground level, and then everything's reestablished within that dip zone.
So they show a 4-inch, if I'm reading this right, a 4-inch diameter casing. So if they put the grout in the casing, is the casing going to slip on the soil?
No, the casing goes down to the current bedrock.
It goes down to the bedrock, and so does that nail go into the bedrock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then it gets fortified with the mortar.
And then it gets filled with a mortar pumped in?
Locking it in, yeah.
Okay. So that's how you anchor that nail, if you will. It's into bedrock and your mortar again. So that's how it stays, and the concrete ring around it will keep it from moving up and down in the ground, or sideways as the case might be. And then, do they dig a small, shallow trench then? These things can't be at the surface. the nail heads can't be at the ground level, they have to be underneath the pavement somewhere. So are they in the subgrade?
None of this is in the pavement area.
Huh?
None of this is in the pavement area.
None of this
It's
is
12 feet, the fabric is 12 feet wide, and they're actually off the side of the, it's going into the side of the slope.
So it's off the edge of the roadway. So then I asked the question, why do we need to defer traffic around the section if they're not going to do anything in the roadway?
Because everything will be performed from the roadway. The roadway itself will also be utilized as the staging area. And once all that soil nailing is completed, the roadway itself will be dug out, the subgrade reestablished, and the road repaved in that section.
So in your opinion, or in your consultant's opinion, even one-way traffic with flag control is not a viable?
It'll just complicate the process that much more.
Okay, all right.
It's better to be a one and done thing.
Okay, all right. And has this been done elsewhere?
Yes, this actual geostabilization, they actually have an ongoing contract with RDOT, and they've sent us over some very similar repairs that they've done for RDOT as well. So they're very familiar, they're
You talking
well
about
recognized.
the contractor or the engineers?
Contractor.
The contractor has done this before.
Geostabilization.
In Arkansas.
Yeah, for RDOT.
In a similar process as we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Might maybe enable them to have evidence of that appeal.
Yeah, they're well versed in this line of work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Wendy?
Motion to approve.
Second.
That was Wendy Hughes and Larry Wilms. Roll call vote.
Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
and Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Thank you for that. Next one is a resolution approving amounts of liens to be certified to the Benton County tax collector against certain real properties as a result of grass cutting expenses and abatement of other nuisances by the city of Bella Vista. And we need to have a public hearing on this, so if there's anyone in the public who would like to speak about this matter, you may come up and speak.
Mayor, I just want to state for the minutes that the affected property owner received lawful notice of the hearing at this, in conjunction with this meeting, and legal requirements have been met regarding notice to that person. Mayor, if no one is wanting to appear for the public hearing, you can close the public hearing and move forward.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and move forward. Is there any further discussion? Larry Wilms?
In looking at the lawn cutting at this site, if the first one was like 6 weeks between the first and second, then about a month, then about a month, but it ended in August, and my question for the chief is, did the grass stop growing that we didn't have to mow it in September, or did the owner pick it up?
I know the owner did not pick it up. I can't tell you whether or not we ordered it, but I know we did.
So did we miss the boat in asking for another mowing?
I can't answer that question, I don't know.
Okay. It's just I know my grass didn't quit growing in September, so.
Yeah, keep in mind that we have to get over 10 inches tall each time before we can cut it.
Yeah, I realize, but if they cut it at 10, do they cut it at 10?
Yes, and that's the over 10 inches tall before it's in violation.
Well, but when they cut it, do they cut it down to a normal height, or do they cut it at 10 inches?
I would have to assume they cut it to normal height. I haven't asked them specifically the length they cut it to.
Is there anyone who has a thought about this? It seems like a silly question, but.
It does.
But it's a silly situation. And so are we being inappropriately severe or inappropriately unsevere to a property owner who doesn't maintain their yard?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Mayor?
I don't think we're being inappropriately severe. Travis?
Larry, I think you might find it helpful if Chief would share the pictures of the property with you. I couldn't share it with you, it would be a FOIA violation, but I did get them, so it was helpful for me to make my decision on this.
So in the future, and I appreciate Councilor Hart, he asked me for some pictures, I believe yesterday or today, I was able to get him pictures. In the future, I'll include pictures to all council members when we submit this stuff for approval, just so you can see the grass. And it was extremely unkept. I would say the picture I sent you were over 10 inches. And so to clear this up in the future, we'll make sure that we get some initial pictures of the grass before we start cutting it.
And it begs the question, I guess, lawns can be 11 inches tall or 10 inches tall if they have
the monarch butterfly thing?
Yeah, a special turf that they're growing there. It's not a lawn turf, but it's a special, if you will.
This was just unkept grass and weeds.
Anna?
I don't know that we're being too severe or not severe enough, but I think that it's inconsistent that this is the only one for the year 2025 that we are having an issue, because I drive all over Bella Vista and I see plenty of unkept places. I see unkept businesses, I see unkept homes. So I think it's very inconsistent. I'll be voting no, not because I don't think that it's okay for this individual to not keep their lawn, and it's unfortunate that we actually use taxpayer money to mow the lawn, but I think that it's very inconsistent that this person was not targeted, but held to this standard, while many others are not.
So if I could comment on that, I have 3 code enforcement officers that enforce all the codes in the entire city of over 33,000 people and almost 50 square miles. And so we really act upon complaints. And so I'd love if you see those lawns, if you complain to us, we act upon them. I know there's other lawns out there that are in violation, but if we don't receive a complaint and or happen upon it ourselves, then it just doesn't get addressed.
Shay, Newport?
Were there other lawns that were mowed as a result of code compliance, but perhaps those property owners paid their invoice?
So I know in the past, we have a feeling, because we haven't brought one of these to city council for years and years. I think in the past, the prior director of the community development, they may have mowed them and not brought this forward. I just don't know. That's a suspicion that the current director has. I do know now that code enforcement is under the police department. We are addressing this. I know that we have mowed some more that will be brought in front of council next year, but this is the only one this year that we've had the complaint against, and it was severe enough, and we addressed it. I mean, it's 10 inches, so that takes a while. So a lot of the stuff you might see might be 6 or 7 or 8, I don't know, but I mean, 10 inches is quite unkept, and it takes a while to get there. It takes probably a couple, 3 months during the growing season to get there. So I just can't comment otherwise. I know there's other violations in the city. If people could please complain to us, we'd be happy to address them. But again, I have 3 code officers addressing a lot of different violations for different things in the city. And so we really need people to complain to us that it's happening so we can address it.
Sorry, I just want to clarify though that this is because the property owner received an invoice and failed to pay, right? It is entirely possible that someone else could have had their property serviced, and if they'd paid the invoice, it wouldn't have reached this step. Is that correct?
Well, off the top of my head, I don't think we've had to mow other people's, we haven't had a situation that I can recall since code enforcement's been with the police department that we've mowed a lawn and then they've paid the invoice. Usually we go to them, we say, hey, your lawn's unkept, there's unsightly things on your property. We work with them and then they get it taken care of. In this case, it just was never taken care of. We just couldn't get a hold of the owner of the property. This property also, just so you know, it appears to be almost abandoned. No one lives there. So we tried to even get a hold of a daughter of the property owner, and she just basically said she wants nothing to do with it, to leave her alone. And so there was really nobody else who could take care of this property, so we took care of it. I assume that we'll see many more of these annually as the years go on, because now we have a process in place to address it. and I'm sure I'll get more complaints about this sort of stuff.
Travis?
Well, I want to go on record and make a complaint about Lancashire and Bella Vista Way right behind Cafe USA. My second complaint.
Okay.
But I support this, and I understand that this is important, so this will have my vote, so.
Okay.
I'm accustomed to seeing 300 to 400 for a community our size of lists of properties there, but I come from the North Country, so most of those were not lawn cutting, it was snow removal on sidewalks. So it's a whole different story, but it's the same process. I would make a motion, if there's no more comments to be said, I would make a motion to approve.
Second. That was Larry Wilms and Travis Hart. Roll call vote.
Council members Hughes,
No.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
No.
Hanschel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Motion carried 4-2. Thank you for that. Next one is a resolution setting the meeting schedule of the Bella Vista City Council for calendar year 2026. I want to point out that Glenda Kelderman didn't feel she could make the one change that was requested. And I did put a date in for the work session for the budget. I put Tuesday, December 1, which is similar to what we did this year. I didn't want to do Monday. You know, Monday's kind of logical because we're used to Mondays, but it's the first day right after Thanksgiving weekend next year, so I thought it was a little dangerous. So I put Tuesday in. So everything else is what you saw last week. Wendy?
Thank you for recognizing that change and making it happen for us for the budget meeting, and motion to approve.
Seconded.
That was Wendy Hughes and Shane Newport. Roll call vote.
Council members Hughes,
Yes.
Newport,
Yes.
Wilms,
Yes.
Isbell,
Yes.
Hanschel,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Motion carried. The next one is a resolution establishing salaries for mayor, city council member, and city clerk to begin January 1, 2026. I wanted to give a little explanation about this. This is just a proposal because it's up to city council. The way we've done this in the past, our employees, we try to compensate them and compete head-to-head with Bentonville and Rogers and Springdale and Fayetteville, compete with the big boys, in other words. In the case of the elected officials, we use a completely different philosophy. We identify what those cities have done, and we purposely try to do something significantly less because we're a smaller city. It's just a little different philosophy. So that's how we do it. Now these proposals, and this sheet I passed out today was just as pagination, wasn't very good. It's the exact same proposal. For city council, we propose 7%. And this is the reasoning. The elected officials haven't had a change in 2 years. And the city employees got 3% in 2025, and now they're getting 4%. And that's everybody. That's the least. A lot of people got. We get more than that for various reasons. They got promoted, or maybe they did some of those things on that sheet I passed out to you. You know, different things like that. So every employee got 7% or better since city councils had a raise. So I proposed 7% for city council because of that. And actually, if you get a 3% raise 1 year and a 4% the next year, because of compounding, that's a little better than 7% after 2 years. Take 100, multiply by 1.03, and then take 103, multiply by 1.04, and you'll find you come up with a little more than 107. So what I propose for city council is actually slightly less than what any employee got because it compounded. So I proposed 7% for city council, 7% for the city clerk, and you also saw the comps on city council. You're quite a bit under all the larger cities. And if I can take a step back, I've had experience that city council sets their own pay. And I find people are very reluctant to give themselves raises, and just the opposite of what the citizens might think. So that's one reason why I made a proposal, kind of to egg you on a little bit. But it was constantly a problem with our last council, people arguing against things and whatnot. So that was the rationale. Now on city clerk, there aren't very good comps, because some people have full-time city clerks, some people have part-time, some people have city clerks that do almost nothing, just a very little minimum. So, I think our city clerk does great, and incidentally, she doesn't report to me, she reports to the people, because she's elected by the people. But, she's very dedicated, and I think she does a great job. And even though there's no comps, it was pointed out to me that in the state of Arkansas, people who have full-time city clerks pay them $63,000 on average. So if you're working 20 hours a week, she's working actually slightly more than that, $31,500 would be rash, plus the full-time is getting benefits. Our city clerk doesn't get medical benefits. So this amount seems very fair, even with the 7% increase, she's still below that number. So that was the rationale for that. So on the mayor, I proposed 5%, and I purposely wanted to have a number that was lower than every single person. The percentage increase is lower than every single employee, everybody on city council, the city clerk, everybody. And that was purposeful. And I wanted to point out during that same time period, the 5% raise, inflation was 5.3%, according to Social Security. It was 2.5 one year, 2.8 the next. So, and one last thing, it just happened for, this is a benefit for the city. I don't have medical insurance for the city, and that's a savings of a little bit more than $12,000 for the city. And most of those mayors I'm comparing to, which make significantly more from the big cities, but most of them probably do have medical insurance, so the gap's even bigger than it looks. Looks like the gap is 20 or 30,000. So that's my story. So it's up to you guys. And we did have a couple of people give amendments, and you may want to have some discussion about different things. So have that. Shay?
Thanks for explaining the rationale, especially since we weren't able to talk about this at last week's work session. It's good to hear, kind of your monologue of what's going on here. I do just want to point out that while I appreciate the savings for the health benefits that you're passing on, I feel compelled to remember that the mayor is subject to change and that future mayors could enroll in health benefits. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Wendy?
Hey, so I did propose an amendment. If that's okay, can I discuss it now?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So, before I go into the amendment, so I do understand the intent of the resolution with the pay increases. Like Shay, I don't quite understand why it was not presented at the work session. The table is very helpful with comparable salaries with the larger communities. Unfortunately, missing from the table is the budget from the other cities. So our budget is about $25 million, where Bentonville's is $88 million, Rogers is $75 million, Springdale's $74 million, and Fayetteville's $254 million. To be a little more comparable, budget-wise, Pea Ridge has a budget of about $24 million. Their mayor makes $100,000, and their city council makes $200 per meeting. I do believe that the clerk's position deserves at minimum a 7% increase in raise. You deserve all the good things in the world. You work so hard and do such impeccable work for our community. Thank you so much. I can't speak on behalf of the other city council members, but I do know that this council is more responsive and is more proactive than previous councils have been. When he mentioned earlier that other councils have maybe voted against the raise increase in the past, that is me. I was that person voting against my own raise. But I can talk about my own workload. So I know that I, like my other council members, attend the monthly meetings and numerous special meetings that we have. I know that we all respond to the emails, texts, and calls from citizens. Well, I'm also practically assisting people on social media with their needs that they have. I know that I personally have meetings and conversations with department heads and with Blue Crane regarding certain issues. I know that I am a member and I attend the meetings of the Streets Committee and the AP Commission on my own time. I also spend hours a month hosting monthly town halls for our community to have civic engagement. I am working hard and I deserve to get paid. But I'm doing this because I want to do good and not because I want to make a profit. So I am proposing an amendment that would give our clerk a 7% increase, but would limit the mayor and city council's pay increase to be no higher than the base percentage that the staff will receive if the 26 budget passes. And like I said earlier, I hope that my colleagues would vote for my amendment, but like in 2023, when I voted against my own raise, I will be voting for my amendment, but voting against my own raise and increase. So don't be surprised when that happens later.
Anyone else want to discuss? Sure. Travis?
Yeah, I like this amendment. I think it's a good idea. That was my hesitation with the raise, is that we didn't give the city that big of a raise, and I'm not willing to take a percentage that's larger than what the city employees took. So I support this amendment, and I won't entertain my amendment.
What was that?
So the thrust of Wendy's amendment, I think, is that the city clerk gets 7% and the mayor and city council gets 4%.
Whatever, I've heard conflicting about the actual increase. I've heard it's 3% cost of living base increase plus a 1% performance increase. So whatever the base is, if it's 3%, that's what I'm proposing, but not to exceed what the base increase would be for staff.
So, just to clarify, if I may, there were two amendments submitted, by Hart and by Hughes. Okay, all right.
I guess Harp's not proposing this, right?
Yeah, I also want to say that thanks, Wendy, for getting the budgets of those other cities, and I would just like to point out to everyone in the council that those cities have businesses that are generating sales tax. We don't have that yet, and we need more of that. I'll just like to remind everyone of that.
By adding a business license, you're going to generally promote more businesses to come to Bella Vista.
Mr. Mayor.
Great.
To that end, just so everybody knows, this city is developed. I mean, it's fully laid out, developed, platted, the whole deal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Jason?
It isn't all built out, but it's certainly all accounted for and subdivided and restricted and practically
So it's a challenge.
We've got empty subdivisions is what we have.
Yes. So I know it's pie in the sky to sit here and say, bring all the retail. We are limited to the nodes on our 2040 plan. Is that what we're up to, Taylor? 2040?
Yeah. This plan.
Okay. So I just want to point that out because that keeps getting brought up. Like we're restricting businesses somehow, and we're not. We don't have a place to put it. That's the way it goes.
Shay?
At the risk of losing the plot, all the other cities that we have come to here have business licenses, so, and they have businesses, so.
Good point.
One thing I would ask, because I didn't even know that we were going to be discussing salaries or anything, is this anything that we have to vote on tonight to adhere to a timeline for something to kick in by a certain time, or is this something that we can bump into next month and have an actual conversation about instead of kind of
Well, one logical time to have a conversation would be December 2, when we're meeting about the budget anyway.
Well, I mean,
It affects our budget for next year, so it would be helpful.
Yeah, we'd like to.
well, that's what I'm getting at. Is
We'd
that-
like to have it finished just
Okay.
by the time the budget's finished and we're actually voting on, we're scheduled to vote on the budget on December 15.
Yeah, so that's, I didn't know if we could roll this back to a,
You could go anytime up till then, up till December 15.
okay.
Jay?
I have a question for Mr. Kelly. Is Councilmember Hughes' language actionable and acceptable? The only thing I'm worried about is the lack of naming a certain percentage, which I do empathize is tricky since the budget isn't set, but are you happy with this language?
Well, I wrote it, so
Okay, that's great.
I'm well pleased. No, let me just, so the way this will be read, because if you approve this amendment, you're adding a section to the bottom of the current proposed resolution. So if you have your current proposed resolution there in front of you, it's got a section 1 and it's got the amounts, and then section 2 talks about the benefits, restricted qualifications of the same. So then what it says in section 3, notwithstanding the salary amount stated in section 1, the salary increases for the mayor and city council members established in section 1 shall be limited to an amount not to exceed the percentage increase approved for base city staff pay in the city's adopted 2026 annual budget if said percentage-based city staff pay increase is less than that provided for mayor and council members provided herein. So if you haven't adopted a budget yet, there's a plan of what it could be, or maybe even an understanding of what you're intending to do, you haven't done it yet. Someone can roll in here and say, it's going to be 10% staff increases. Well, that's not going to increase the mayor and council 10%. It would just go up to what's in section 1. Whereas if you keep it at 4, that's going to come down off of what's in section 1 to the current amount plus 4%. So
I think it would be a lot simpler to name a number. That's why we did that in the first place. Travis?
I would like the motion to table this to a next work session.
well, you can't table to a work session, but you can table it the next month. You certainly can talk about it at the work session.
I would like to table it to whichever one I can appropriately do. I'll motion to table this to next month's council meeting.
Okay. The amendment has not been moved, and there's not been a second on the amendment. So I just want to make sure you understand procedurally that you would have a vote on whether to amend it, and then you would still have a final vote on whether to adopt the resolution or potentially consider other amendments.
But he could just vote to table it till the next meeting.
Sure, and then you could amend it at the next meeting if you want. Certainly. you
But
could.
those options are open, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So you want to make your motion?
I did, and I had a second.
It's a second.
Okay. Motion by Travis to table it to the next meeting, and second by Greg Hansel. Roll call vote.
Councilmembers Hughes.
Yes.
Newport.
No.
Wilms.
Yes.
Isbell.
No.
Hanschel.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-2. Okay.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Relative to this last item, L, can we amend the agenda for the budget review to include this as a topic? That we will have a council member. Is that?
The budget meeting is a work session.
Oh,
So there's not going to be an opportunity to formally adopt anything at that budget meeting. So I guess the answer would have to be no.
so
You can call a special meeting to consider this one item, you know,
So
immediately after your budget work session or immediately before that, for convenience?
So practically, after the work session is done, can we convene a council meeting?
Well,
special
at
meeting?
at this point, the council has voted to table it until next month's regular meeting, so that's done at this point.
Was that the language? Okay.
So it will be, as all of the items for next month will be on the work session for a discussion, and then the next week for final action.
I think this could have been avoided if we had this information in the work session in the first place.
Okay, it's time for announcements. Next city council work session is 5:30 PM Monday, December 8th at Bella Vista District Court. Next city council regular meeting is 6 PM Monday, December 15th at Bella Vista District Court. Planning Commission work session 4:30 PM, November 27th is canceled. Planning Commission regular meeting 4:30 PM or immediately following BZA Monday, December 8th, Bella Vista District Court. Board of Construction Appeals 3 PM Tuesday, December 9th, if necessary, at Fire Station Number 4 Conference Room, 1639 Forest Hills Boulevard. And I'd like to add that there's a special budget work session on Tuesday, December 2 at 5:30 PM. Is that at District Court or training room?
I believe it's in the training room.
Yeah, at the training room across the hall here. So if there's not anything else, meeting is adjourned.